Hello, beautiful souls. Samantha here.
Hola, Maria here.
Hey. We already made a video around what our perception of twin flame and soul mate is. And then we ended up watching the docu-series on Netflix called Escaping Twin Flames. So we're here to give our little commentary because we realized we couldn't videotape ourselves while we were watching it. Mm-mm.
That wasn't
Mm-mm.
going to work out
That
well.
wasn't. It wasn't gonna work.
So
So
we'll still give it to you real. But yeah, we needed to like really absorb what we were watching because it's kind of,
it's pretty fucked
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how we'll start this.
Yeah. It was pretty fucked up. We were watching it and like we had to keep pausing and looking at each other because we were seeing it from everyone's perspective.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
so we can
yes.
see how the people that, if you've watched it, will stay in the university and become controlled by these people. And we can see the trauma that was happening, but also the devotion. It was like, and we can see even the teachers' sides of
Mm-hmm,
what everyone was working at.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. Being shown everybody's perspectives while watching it was like it was weird. But also, I mean, it was cool because it's helping us, especially we talked about in the other video we made that a lot of people come for readings about a twin flame or about a soulmate, right? So it's giving us yet another view, another lens that whoever watches this may come to us with, right? So I feel like that's why we were guided to watch it, to be honest, was to be able to hold even more empathy. And even for the people that were the perpetrators in it, right? And I say it like that because we don't fully know their story. This was a documentary made on Netflix, and Netflix, like everything, manipulates things as well.
Mhm.
Now, feeling into the energy of it, I do feel like what was shared, especially from the victims' perspectives, was validity to it. I did feel like there was a lot of manipulation in this. It's called Twin Flames Universe. This is the husband and wife duo that created this community. What was really fucked up was like the teachings, the concepts that they use are, and it's like it's fucked up because it's just like religion. Like the concepts, the messages that they're using are truth, right? They on the outside they sell it as self-love. It's all, this journey is all about returning to self and self-love. So the way that they can reel people in, especially people that are spiritually awakening, I can see how people are very easily drawn into it because I went to
Mhm.
their Facebook page. The memes that they post are very similar to like memes that we share, and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
Whoa.
whoa. But
Yeah.
then when you feel into the energy of it and watch this docu series, it's like you see all the manipulation behind that, right? So they know how to reel people in. It's that same um, statement that a lot of people have heard, like it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? So it's like they are literally putting everything out there of a spiritual concept that is very similar to most spiritual communities. Like they're teaching the same stuff, but then I guess when you kind of sign on to their services, and that's what some of the people in the docu-series were saying, it's like behind closed doors it's a different story, and you could really feel that watching this big time.
Yeah. Because I feel like what gave it more validity was that the people that were in the university shared videos
Yes, yes,
of the sessions. And
yes.
that's what really like nailed the coffin in around seeing the energy of which the I don't even know if I want to call them practitioners, teachers, Jeff and Sheila, whoever. I don't
I
even
know
know if
I
that's
don't
her
even
name.
remember their names.
The guy and the girl, the teachers.
Yes.
The level of which they were working from. And their whole thing is we guarantee you that you
Mm,
will meet your twin flame or your soulmate if you join this program. Like
correct.
guarantee. Now, no one, no, um, not even a
Coach.
doctor can
Exactly.
guarantee you your health,
Mhm.
right? Your health is up to you. And um, so when they make statements like that, that's when I could feel like they were working from a level of thinking that they had control, that
Mhm.
they could cure things. And as the series went on, they began to say, which we know that we are all aspects of God, source, creation. We all
Mhm.
are, right? But they started to use it in a way like, hey, I am God, and if you want to be a part of God, you listen to me. So they started to manipulate people into being into fear. And if you notice the things that they were wearing, their outfits were changing. One scene they were both wearing red and looked really kind of like
Mhm.
drained, which is the
Yep.
root chakra. And the things they were saying was like the guy was saying, uh, I make my money off of you. Like this business stays alive because I rely on you. So if you want a piece of God in you to be part of God and God to believe in you, then you believe in this and you do this. Like it was like you do, or you're banished. So it was coming, they were working in a very wounded masculine and feminine because I think her name's Shayla, stayed quiet, if you noticed. Like she didn't
But I
speak up
could
a lot.
feel their energy between the two of them.
Yeah.
That was very interesting to observe from video to video as well. It was, yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, there was a lot of unsaid stuff on video between the two of them. Now, what happens behind their closed doors, I'm sure, is a whole nother story as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so their whole thing was you cannot be happy if you don't have your twin flame.
Yep.
So they ended up making
Mm.
doing teachings, mirror work,
Mm.
where me and Maria are big on mirror work. Mm.
Yep. That's why we were like, oh my God. They're using such a crucial concept in the healing process, but they've twisted it and it's fucked. Yeah.
Mhm. And there was one scene where the guy was basically telling the student um, to literally stalk. Remember, like telling her to stalk
Yes.
her twin flame when he kept
Yes.
telling her no, no, no.
This guy had actually gotten a restraining order against her, and these teachers were telling their student, "Oh no, no, ignore that. You stop it. Nothing. You let nothing get between you and your twin flame." And like literally, they were promoting her stalking this individual.
Mhm. And then shaming her by saying, when she said he doesn't love me, he told me he doesn't love me. They were just like, just do your mirror exercise. If he doesn't love you, what is that mirror within you? And she was like, that I don't love myself. He goes, very good. Class, let's celebrate her for recognizing she doesn't love herself because her twin flame doesn't love her. So it was so manipulative to people, like brainwashing them, putting them into fear that if this person doesn't love me, there's no way I can love myself. Like, and
Mhm.
it there was no like, let's work on how you can love yourself and accept yourself to welcome in your twin flame. It was
Right,
like, no,
right,
this is your partner and there's no one else for you.
right. And that's the other thing is that they would get the whole channeling, right?
Mm,
Like you think those of us that are channeling aren't already like being, burned at the
judged.
stake, like the Salem witch trials all over again. Like this documentary just made it even more so where I can see where people won't trust channelers. And I get that. And after watching that, I wouldn't blame you
Mm-hmm.
because basically they told all of their students, and what they tell everybody is that they have been given this gift of being able to channel your one true flame, your one true soulmate, your one true twin flame. And only they can channel that for you. Like, red flag right there. Huge red flag. But when you're desperate and you're in that state, it's very easy to be manipulated by that. But that alone was like, oh no, 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 like this is why I made a video like 2 weeks ago about what does it mean to be a healer? What does it even mean to channel? We all are channels of energy. That's what we all are, right?
Mhm.
So it's just like, oh my God, now he just like made it seem like anybody that channels information is like a whack job, right? And we're not. We're not. This is why discernment and staying the course of your own inner journey is so important, especially if you are putting yourself out there as a practitioner of channeling, right? Like
Mhm.
doing your inner work, because there is an aspect of them that I almost don't even know if they know that they're operating from such a low vibration. As weird
Yeah.
as that sounds, like, I know, yes, they know what they're doing, they know they're manipulating, I get that, but there's also this thing that I observed in both of them, that like they're just so much in their own wounding. I almost feel like this started off with good intent, but then realized they could actually make some money off of it, and it took a hard turn, and that's when
Mhm.
it started to become very, very manipulated. And the sexual exploitation in this, that they were telling their students, like, that, oh my God, like, just really wounded sacral chakra energy going on, that they were
Mhm.
then instilling and teaching their students, like, fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how they started was Shayla, whatever her name is, she contacted, I'm going to call him Jeff. I don't know if that's his name.
That works.
Contacted him, and he was a businessman making a lot of money. She said, "Do you want to have sex? I know how to read, and I know how to read oracle cards." And from the oracle cards, I feel like something devised where like you're my twin flame or you're my soulmate, something like that. And then they made a business together. And I think it was like the third episode of the three parts was they're in Arizona, and that was the other thing. It was taking place in Arizona and Mass, where
It's
me
so
and
weird.
Maria both are. That's interesting. Um,
Sorry.
but they were at a conference, and he was saying, "Look at her. When I found her," like basically saying that he's her savior. When I found her, she was living on a mattress in a basement or a garage or something. And now look at her all decked out in Chanel, like
Yeah. Yeah.
very materialized. And she's like, "Yeah, I've done good for myself." Right. And she's
Yeah.
showing off her stuff.
Yeah.
And so they played this role that happiness is material things. It's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started, when they were channeling, started telling people, well, if you're what they say, you're actually divine masculine. So even if
Oh
you're
my
a
God.
female, you need to change your gender. And if you really value your divine masculine essence and God, you will listen to me and you will change, do whatever changes you need to become that energy. And so people were changing from girl to male and getting crazy surgeries, and then vice versa, male to girl, rather than just being who they were. And there was a couple of people that even said, like, I didn't feel comfortable with that. I didn't want to do that. And they ended up having to like block the entire university and everyone in it, and felt extremely alone. Because if you didn't obey by the rules, then you'd be kicked out and you'd be shamed. And that's it was just playing on literally our wounding of wanting love. And it's the complete opposite of what the spiritual community is supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be supporting people in finding love of self, to welcome universal love, and to know that there's love everywhere for you. Right? It's not held in one person or a savior complex, which is what this fucking, excuse my language, guy was trying to play. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you're right. I don't think he even knew that he was playing from that role,
I
because he got
know.
so sucked up into it,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
because
A
he was
thousand percent.
already in like that like money brings me happiness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And twisted the whole, like what you and I are learning, and a lot of practitioners, those of us that are learning about our own self-worth and the gifts that we offer, right, in our services. And feeling uncomfortable, like maybe raising our prices, but yet it's guided by spirit because it's like it's an energy exchange, right? This is
Mhm.
an energy exchange. You deserve to be compensated or reciprocated with what you're putting into it, right? So I'm watching this and I'm like, well, this is going to fuck up all of us that are really starting to like learn it's okay to charge a certain thing for a certain service, right? Because it's an energy exchange. And it's
Mhm.
like, so it didn't get me to question myself because I know my intention of things, but it just helped me see the perspective of all of us that are in different levels of awareness and wherever we're at in our spiritual journey. It's like, whoa, like I can see how now those of us that are really owning our worth, right? And owning what we bring to the table. And then you watch that and it's like, yeah, but I'm like not in it for the money by any means, right? The only reason I want my business to make money is so we can continue to grow our business and help more people. Like
Mhm.
that's the intent for both of us. Like it's not so we can go deck ourselves out in Chanel clothing, right? And I'm not judging people. Like again, I feel like we're all here to experience whatever we want to experience. There's nothing wrong with having materialistic things either. Like
Mhm.
I live in a big beautiful house out here and I'm very grateful for it, right? Like but it's what is the intent behind this work that we're doing, right? Serving humanity. What is really the intent? Is it love or is it fear? Because after watching that, those individuals are in a massive amount of fear. And so that's what's driving their whole intention. That's what's driving the whole community that they're creating. So it is a cult. Like his whole way of manipulating and wanting to control people right down to getting people to change their genders because and the whole reason they started doing that was because all of a sudden their channelings of people's twin flames were people that were part of the organization, right? So what does that do? That guarantees that their program is successful.
Yep.
Oh, your twin flame is here. Your twin flame's already part of this organization. Well, then when they were running out of an equal amount of men and women, like that's how fucked up this is. That's when
Mhm.
they started convincing people that you are either divine masculine and divine feminine. And that's such bullshit because all of us, every single one of us, no matter what avatar you're walking in, no matter what your mind tells you that you are, every single one of us has divine masculine and divine feminine energy in our energy fields. That's
Mhm.
what source is. It's the combination of the two. So we're all carrying both. And literally, they were brainwashing these people to tell them, you're divine masculine, you're divine feminine. Like, what the fuck? And then
Yep.
they wanted to like create different like babies. It was like I'm watching it
Oh,
and I'm like, wow, on a small they're doing on a small scale, quite honestly. This is what came through after I watched it too. It's coming in right now on what they're doing on a small scale is literally what the systems and the powers that be have been doing with humanity.
on a
Like
large
we
scale.
have
Mhm.
for eons, right? We have
Mhm.
they've created so many different species within the human species, like experiments. You know, my avatar is one of them. I know that. So it's like, whoa, they're like doing that on a smaller scale with a smaller group of individuals, but they're using all the same coercion, manipulation, knowing these people are in fear. Literally what the system does to us. Literally.
Mhm.
It's the exact same thing. So like literally we are all already in a cult, if you will, because that is what the all of the systems, the 9 systems, the financial, the educational, the healthcare, the military, like all of them, the food, right? It's all mini cults because what do? They play on our fear. So they manipulate us. They create the problems, but then they also have the solution. That's literally what these
Yep.
people were doing. It's wild.
Literally. And then they said how she was pregnant, right? And this is what really pissed me off because they kept saying like we have baby Grace, it's our third flame or soulmate, whatever the heck it is.
Oh, yeah. Literally
Yeah.
what they said was that every individual on this earth plane only has one other twin flame, but they're special. So now their baby is their other twin flame.
Yep. And they'll tell the baby who to be with and what, and that it won't have to have sex with anyone because it'll be having sex with God because it came from two gods. And I was like, oh. And and then that's when we saw Sheila actually speak up and say it was an ectopic pregnancy. And he was like, no, it's this. And you could tell she was sad. She was,
Yep. They
right.
did lose the baby, and
Yeah.
that's sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then he went and blamed it on the students to make them feel bad and to
Mhm.
work harder and do more mirror work because they killed their baby Grace. And ectopic pregnancy, no one can it's when the baby is not like in the
In the tube.
yeah. So it's like that's no one's doing. Whatever.
That's that baby was like, okay, not
Yeah.
not coming in this round yet. They're
Yep.
not quite ready for me yet.
And so then the guy was trying to buy land to make his own religion so he wouldn't have to pay taxes
Mm.
and have he wanted everyone to live on this land, kind of what me and Maria like we want to have like a compound, but to not to control people so people can live freely and eat whatever they want. Like, but he wanted to control who who was having kids and when. And if they didn't have a sperm donor, he would find the sperm donor so they would have kids. And that's when I was like, he's totally in this grandiose, wounded energy. And if you ever feel like that when you're going to someone where you feel like they're trying to control or push something on you that doesn't align with you, or is like, whoa, stop listening to them. Don't just use discernment.
Yes.
Um, it's
Yes.
all I can say because, and I said to Maria, I was like, well, it's like watching this docu-series is like watching us when we were in like the lowest vibratory state like of another life.
Mhm.
Like and we've totally mirrored and become out on the light because I'm like these people are using the same words yet
Literally.
the tone and the energy is the complete opposite.
Yep.
And it's like,
Yep.
whoa,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
So we can see how a lot of people come to Maria and I in fear of I'm going to be alone forever, or if I stand up to my partner, then this is going to happen, or I only have like one. I'm looking for my soulmate, or I've been told that this thing's following me, and it's like that's all fear based to make you be unempowered.
Correct. Correct. I was just about to say, if you come out of a session, whether it's coaching, energy work, intuitive reading, feeling disempowered, now that's different than feeling, you may feel triggered by some of the
Mm.
stuff that comes in, right? This is why feeling into your body is so important, so you can discern what you're feeling when you feel things, right? You can be triggered by things that come through, but you don't have to own anything that comes through in a reading. Remember that. No matter, you're the one choosing to go get this reading, this healing, this whatever, right? But don't feel like you have to own anything that the reader gives you, including myself. Like, I personally have no attachment when I do sessions for people, and I'm really that channel. I don't have an attachment to how they receive it, if they receive it, because I know we're all in our own stuff, right? And I know that I'm coming from a loving intention. So I don't want anybody to grab on, just like I'm going into it with no attachment. I tell my clients, have no attachment to what comes through. Feel what resonates with you. Question maybe the things that are a little bit triggering, right? Because I feel like these people, what they were doing with the whole like mirror exercise that they were giving people is they were doing that in a very manipulative, fucked up way, do your inner work kind of thing. But instead of coming out of doing your inner work feeling more empowered, people were coming out feeling even more shameful.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not the point of mirror work. It's quite the opposite, right? Does the ego get triggered in mirror work? Of course it does, because it doesn't like to think that the things it's blaming outside of itself, it has played a role in it in some way, in an energetic way, right? So the ego is going to fight mirror work. But the way these people were manipulating people to do it, it was like, they were like shaming them into the mirror work, and then they'd come out of the mirror work feeling even shittier about themselves. And it's like, oh my god, it's so manipulated. It's so manipulated. And so I feel like it's important that Sam and I talk about this, because I know there's a lot of us coaches out there that have mirror work, we may not call it that, reflective work, shadow work, all of that stuff, right? And it's not bad to go in. All you're going into is your unconscious stuff that you've blocked out. That's it. Good, bad, and different. It's not all bad stuff in the shadow. I've said this in many other things I've made, that my spiritual gifts have lived in my shadow. I had to do shadow work to connect with my spiritual gifts. So it's like there's so much goodness in the shadow. We block out so much from ourselves, right? The ego does to protect us, keep us feeling comfortable and safe. But it's like that internal work, that mirror work, that reflection work, it's meant to empower you. That's so if you are going to different practitioners and you're not feeling empowered on some level, check in with that. That's all I'm saying. Cause like there's something there's, and it doesn't mean that these practitioners are bad people. I just believe that they're people that have not continued to do their own internal work. And so it literally bleeds out into their sessions. And I've seen this in so many ways, shapes and forms. I mean, that docu-series was just
right in your
an
face.
extreme. It was an extreme of it. Like, whoa, like big time extreme, but yet I see that in many other people's readings and claiming that they're a healer. That's why I made that other video. It's like if you're going to someone and they're telling you they can heal something in your body, I would sit I'd sit with that, because basically they're telling you that you're not powerful enough to do that for yourself. That's what they're
Correct.
telling you by saying that. And they're giving you, I'm sorry, but false hope, because none of us can heal another individual. I'm still healing myself, and that's been a lot of work. Never mind actually trying to heal someone else. It's not how this works. So, you know, Sam and I are all about giving people the tools, the support, and the guidance so they can become their own master healer. These people were literally trying to stifle and control and manipulate, so you're under their thumb. Literally, it's like I'm literally seeing them, and then I'm seeing the whole matrix system doing the same thing. It's like the same, it's like it's literally the same thing. I'm like, wild.
And then the other thing that there's two points I just want to briefly touch upon was the setting boundaries and cutting out toxic people in your life. That was
Oh,
something they
please hit that.
introduced
Yes.
in like the first or second episode, but it was around who in your life doesn't support you being a part of this university, who in your life doesn't or believes this is a cult, who in your life whatever, with twin flames, you're too young, blah blah blah, that whatever. Because
They
when
also said who in your life can't see their own divine nature.
yes, yes. And let's just tell you guys, they were not working from divine energy. Okay.
No,
There's
no.
divine and then there's wounded. They were working from very wounded, because that someone in their divine will not tell you what to do and how you should do it and blah blah. They'll encourage you with tools, but they won't. So
They won't
anyways,
tell you what to do.
yeah. And so these people were leaving their families and like literally cutting out people that supported them, and were then told to move in with their significant other, and you could see that they were not happy, like they were forced into
Oh
this. It
yeah.
was like arranged marriages. And that's one thing, like when, because Maria and I talk about like, yep, there might be some toxic people in your life, or in the sense that they're no longer supporting your growth there, right? Like that's what we mean by toxic people, because we believe that everyone works from their level of awareness. We also know that we cannot change anyone, nor should we try and change people or change ourselves to fit someone else's mold. So if you ever hear us or someone else that's a heart-centered practitioner talk about, oh, there's some toxic energy in your life, that just means something that might be draining you, that no longer is aligned with you. Not that and it doesn't mean you go cut them all out. Like my family, right? Like things, they don't believe in a lot of things I'm doing or understand it, but doesn't mean I totally just buy, right? Unless they're really like fucking me up, right? But it's all about discernment. The other thing I wanted to touch upon was they used map, and it reminded me of Joe Dispenza or heart math. Remember that lady that they like called in to like teach them how to rewire their brain, which is
Oh
something
yeah.
Maria and I
Also do. I'm like, oh
also
my God.
do.
They've taken all of our concepts and shat on them.
And the way they were teaching it was working at a level of fear. Um, and I just remember one conversation, Jeff, whatever his name is, said to the psychologist, the doctor, where he was like, so I have my people, like my students, they work for me. They go out and get me new people. They're the coaches. And he said to the doctor, do you have anyone do you pay anyone that works for you or works under you? She's like, nope. So she's taking it all and then training her people to go out while they're paying her and like they're paying Jeff.
Mhm.
So that's not bartering. That is the
Mm-mm.
opposite.
Exactly.
So like if I'm working with one of my coaching clients and they want to enhance
Trade
or work
services.
on yeah, their intuitive services, then we'll do like a session where I'll have them read me and then I'll give them feedback, right? Or if we're at a fair, like if we want to do a fair trade, I'll read for you, you read for me. That's bartering, not you pay me and then I have you do stuff. Like,
Right.
I
That's,
just wanted to touch upon those 2 points because those
I'm
really,
glad you did. I'm glad you did, because I actually forgot about both of those things until then you said it. And I remember we were talking about it when we watched it. So yes, I am glad that you touched on both of those. Especially with the boundary setting, because that's something that I work on with all my clients, literally, and myself personally.
Mhm.
And so this is what I can say to all that. Only you know, only you, the individual, knows when it feels right or not right to cut someone out of your life, right? No one should ever be telling you to do that. We may bring things to your awareness, like Sam's saying, like there's some toxicity in this relationship, but I've never told my clients to get rid of people in their family or their friends. Quite the opposite. I first will encourage them to set boundaries, because usually it's a lack of our own boundary setting that has created this. Not usually, always. Thank
always
you, Spirit, for
communication.
confirming that. Exactly.
Mhm.
It's poor communication. We as humans, we've never had more devices to communicate with one another, but yet have never been more poorer communicators. Like it's wild. We don't listen and we don't know how to communicate effectively. And so when I listen to people with all of their different relationship issues that they're bringing into the session, right? They're the ones talking about this stuff. It's not like I'm pulling it out of them. I always allow my clients, you bring into the session what you want to work on. This is your journey, right? So it's always relationships in the family, because that's where we all have our biggest challenges, but also our biggest growth can come from family, because
Mhm.
those are the people that we are emotionally attached to. Like, so that's where the lessons really are, is within the family. So we can either fight that or surrender to that knowing and say, how can I grow from this relationship and this experience? And most of it is that we all need to learn how to set our own personal boundaries, right?
Mhm.
And so a boundary today for me might be, I don't want to be around certain people, right? Doesn't mean I've cut them out of my life, right? It just means today I just can't be around that energy, right? It's not anything personal. It's just recognizing energy. So again, let your boundaries be fluid. Like they don't have to be this. And I have cut, I'll say, maybe one person out of my life. And I say it like that because I actually went through a breakup with this person, this girl, my old best friend from childhood. And I can share this because she and I now talk again. So just
Mhm.
funny how when we cut people out, energy has its way of coming back if it's meant to be. And
Correct.
so when I was at the beginning of my journey of realizing, recognizing relationships that just didn't feel reciprocated to me, I started going through this. I'm like, I got to get people out of my life. Now that's huge for me, because I'm someone that keeps people in my life forever, even if like, they're abusive or whatever. Like I will keep people in my life. Old me would have kept people in my life for a long time, but I'm not that old version anymore. So
Exactly. There you go.
nonetheless,
There you
nonetheless,
go.
now I'm learning that healthy boundary of like, well, I'm not like trying to cut people out of my life. And I'm very different than most people in my family, right? The way I live my life is very different than, but unity consciousness is literally about embracing your own authenticity and allowing other people to be where they're at, right? It doesn't mean we have to cut them out of our lives because they don't, my God, they don't think like me. Like that's not what unity consciousness is. We're trying to break out of that paradigm where everybody thinks the same and does things the same way, right? So for me, I'm not about cutting people out because they don't believe in the things I believe in, or they don't do in their daily life what I do. Like I'm all about loving all aspects of everyone. That doesn't mean I have to hang around with these people every day, right? That's where we get to be our own conscious creators, and we actually get to choose who we want in our life, right? But the way that they were doing it in the Twin Flames universe is literally they were manipulating these people into believing that they don't support you. Now write them a letter and cut them out of your life. And
Mhm.
that's what they did. That's what a lot of these people did. And I've never given guidance like that to any of my clients.
No.
If there's even a question about cutting someone out, I always encourage them to, you have to do what you feel is right. If they're not hearing you, yeah, it is time to walk away, right? And sometimes cutting people out means you block them on your phone for a little bit, right? Like only you know what you need to do in that
Mhm.
instance. Like this is not a black or white thing. We're all in very unique relationships. So what works for me might not be the right boundary for you. So that's where we as individuals have to feel into what feels right for us, right? And sometimes you do need a physical separation to unblur the lines, right? And then maybe 6 months, maybe a year, right? You open those lines of communication back up. But we all have control over our own life in that sense. We don't feel like we do, but we are allowed to pick and choose who we want in our life. But when we cut people out, it also doesn't mean like you just like literally cut complete ties, right? Like sometimes for me, I'm finding energy does that itself. Like I don't actually have to cut anybody out of my life. Like people that want to be around me come into my reality, and people that aren't on my vibration just don't come into my reality. Like it's kind
Mhm.
of like I really recognized that over this last year, especially. It's like I don't have to cut people out. Like the energy does its work for me, right? So it's like I attract people into my life that are on a similar page, but yet still live very different lifestyles, right? But I don't judge that. It's like that's where they're at. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I feel like that is something that a lot of coaches help people with, is boundary setting and cutting out toxic relationships. Just be careful about such definitive guidance, I guess, that you're getting from people when it
Yeah.
seems so, this is the end all be all. Like nothing is the end all be all. Okay. Like, and only you can choose and decide what feels the best thing for you.
Yeah. And like you can't just cut people out. Well, you can, right? But it's then someone similar is going to come in your life, or a situation going to come in, because you're not getting to the root of why you no longer align with that person, or what may be bothering you, or whatever the situation may be. And it's the same if like you travel to escape where you are, which is something I used to do, trying to find home, trying to find
Mm-hmm.
my place in the world, when my place in the world is right here. And it wasn't
Mm,
until I realized that, where I was like, I don't have to travel around the world. But now when I do, the intention's different,
right.
and I'm doing it to like learn rather than like whatever I was doing before. And it's the same with the job. If you're miserable in your job, you can cut it out. You can quit, right? But then if you're just searching for another job to fill that void without checking in with your emotional self and seeing what is it that I really need, then you'll just be keep presented with the same energy from that original job until you face what's in here. So it's the same when you cut someone out of your life, then someone else will present and be like, what the fuck, this fucking thing again? And
Why do I
it's
always
like,
attract these toxic people?
yeah,
Because there's an aspect of you that resonates on that same vibration.
yeah. And that's what a coach is here to help you with, to not tell you who should and shouldn't be in your life, but to help you, quote unquote, mirror, but to more so help you look within and be like, okay, where did this pattern begin? Right? Where am I not fully loving, appreciating, accepting myself? Because we can never just get rid of something. Because guess what? Energy is never destroyed. It's always being created, shifted, right?
Yep.
Always.
It'll just come in another form.
Yeah. And it's like that's why this docu-series is like it's very limited. And
Yes.
Maria and I are about limitlessness,
Yes.
limitlessness.
We're all
So
about the
yeah,
limitlessness. And all I could hear from that whole thing was how limited, right down to that every individual only has one truth. Like, come on, come on,
bullshit.
people.
Yeah.
Like, even for me who didn't realize about that we're multidimensional for a good part of my life, like even me knew that that's bullshit. Like that, so there's only one other human walking this earth plane that's meant for me. Like I no, that's doesn't even, that's absurd. That's absurd. So yes, if you take nothing else away from this, you have more than one true love out there. And like I said in the first video we made, your true love is you.
Mhm.
You find that in you, you'll find multiple suitors that will mirror that for you. Then you get to pick and choose. Like literally, it is choice here. We don't realize it. So we first realize all the things we made from unconscious fear decisions, but it is really kind of all choice in this game of life. So yeah.
Mhm.
The only other thing I think I want to just say real quick, because it's, you used this word a lot through the video today, and it's perfect. Wounded, right? We throw the word toxic around a lot, and that just even toxic energy, when we're like, oh, they have a toxic energy, or this is toxic, right? That we're already in that mindset, right? It's already like a lower frequency mindset to be labeling something as toxic. Instead of looking at people or things in your life as toxic, maybe use the word wounded, because that will also help you see the mirror that we're referring to. Because I feel like when we label people as toxic, our ego won't even allow us to adopt the idea of like that maybe energetically we're carrying something similar, right? Like, because it's like, oh, I'm not toxic, just everybody else in my life is, but I'm not, right? Like we get very defensive and like don't even allow ourselves to see it from an energy standpoint because we're so attached to the word toxic, because we don't want to think that we're toxic, but we are. Like we are. That was one of the first things I realized in my awakening, was how toxic my thoughts were and my emotions were and my judgments towards people in the world. And that's when I realized, like, oh my God, I've got a lot of toxic energy in there. It's just energy. It's just wounded energy. So when you find yourself in a situation, a relationship, or an experience where like in your mind you're pointing a finger at that situation or that person and saying they're toxic, switch the word toxic to wounded and then ask yourself, what's the wound that they're operating from? Because I guarantee you have an energetic wound that is a mirror of some sense. So
1,000%. And to know that you're not alone, because that series was made because someone took a stand and realized this is not good for me. This is killing me in a sense. And you know what? They weren't alone, but they had to step out of that box to find the other people that then were able to bring this series into light, but more so to help them have a voice to share their pain from what they experienced. So hopefully more people that when they quote unquote wake up or feel no longer aligned with that university or whatever else they may be in and they watch this series knows that they're not alone, because we're never alone ever. So we
never
love you
alone.
guys.
We love you. Thanks for your support.
Bye. Oh, and since we're not good at selling ourselves, if you want, look at our website, book a session with us. Just reach out if you feel stuck in something and you need a little guidance or you feel alone. And if you like this video, please share, hit like, and subscribe. We love you.
Love ya.
Bye.